Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz announces that the Maldives plans to introduce a modern smart ID card within the next 18 months, allowing citizens to carry out financial transactions and access a wide range of public services using a single card. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz announces that over 100 experts will be appointed to the National Advisory Council. And the landmark Preferential Trade Agreement (PTA) signed between the Maldives and Turkey officially comes into effect, ushering in a new era of bilateral trade and economic cooperation between the two nations. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English. With me, Fatma Zaina Rifat. And now for the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz says physical construction on dedicated parking buildings designed to provide a permanent solution to traffic congestion across the Malé region will begin very soon. President Muiz noted during the third episode of Public Service Media's Nation Chat program that the administration is preparing 7 parking facilities across the Greater Malé region, encompassing Hulu Malé and Wili Malé, to address spatial constraints. Upon completion, the multi-story structures will supply designated spaces for over 2,600 four-wheeled vehicles and 1,000 two-wheeled vehicles. The infrastructure initiative forms a core component of executive efforts aimed at establishing lasting solutions to capital congestion. President Muiz observed, adding that required land has been formally allocated. President Muiz argued, addressing political criticism, opposition claims regarding the newly created Greater Malé Transport and Mobility Office are entirely baseless. Allegations of inflated state expenditures through redundant recruitment are unfounded, he underscored, explaining that the office will rely on experienced personnel transformed from existing institutions. The entity will hold complete regulatory oversight over traffic management and street enforcement. Progress follows foundation laying in March for a flagship 13-story facility in Hulu Malé Phase 1, accommodating over 1,100 vehicles across a multi-level layout featuring commercial retail, electric vehicle charging stations, and sports facilities. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz announces that the Maldives will plan to introduce a modern smart ID card within the next 18 months, allowing citizens to carry out financial transactions and access a wide range of public services using a single card. The government is pursuing a major digital transformation agenda, including integrating services provided by different state institutions onto a single platform. More than 272,000 Maldivians aged 10 and above are already using the country's digital ID system, representing around 80% of the eligible population. Speaking on the third episode of PSM News Nation Chat podcast, President Muiz said the government was undertaking extensive efforts to digitalize key sectors and public services. As part of the initiative, the existing national identity card system will be upgraded into a digital smart ID card. He said the government aims to roll out the new ID card within the next 18 months. The card will not only serve as proof of identity but also support financial transactions and provide access to a range of digital services. President Muiz reiterated the government's goal of expanding the digital economy so that it contributes 15% of the country's economic output by 2030. He said the initiative forms part of his broader vision of transforming the Maldives into a developed nation. According to the president, once the digital transformation is complete, all government services will be accessible online from anywhere in the country, making them more convenient for citizens. To achieve this objective, the government has identified 3 key priorities: establishing a modern digital identity system with a strong protection of personal data, creating a secure platform that enables government institutions to exchange information efficiently, and strengthening cybersecurity to protect digital systems from cyber attacks. The planned enhancements to the existing EFA's digital identity system are also expected to address many of the concerns currently raised by users, while delivering a more secure and efficient digital service. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz says that a proposed constitutional amendment to reserve a specific number of seats in the parliament for young people and women would help end their long-standing underrepresentation in elected office. The president made the remarks during an appearance on PSM News Nation Chat podcast, where he highlighted the government's efforts to strengthen the political participation of young people and women. He said that while the legal framework already provides equal opportunities for all citizens, young people and women continue to be underrepresented in elections. Although candidates from both groups contest parliamentary seats, they are often unsuccessful at the ballot boxes, making reform necessary. President Muiz said he intends to introduce a constitutional amendment to reserve a fixed proportion of parliament seats for young people and another proportion for women. Responding to the criticism of the proposal, the president said equal opportunities already exist in law, but the outcome in elections tells a different story. The president added that although efforts had been made within the party system to create greater opportunities for women, meaningful progress would only be achieved through a quota system in parliament. He also stressed that young people should have a genuine voice in national affairs and be actively involved in the country's governance. He said the establishment of the Youth Parliament was intended to provide the opportunity, describing it as one of the strongest platforms available for youth participation. President Muiz further said that he envisions the Youth Parliament meeting during recesses of the Parliament, allowing young representatives from all 93 constituencies to deliberate on national issues and contribute ideas that could inform the parliamentary work. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz says the Maldives 2.0 digitalization project will empower local councils by making government services more accessible and efficient. The president made the remarks while speaking on PSM's Nation Chat podcast. The Maldives 2.0 digitalization project was launched by President Muiz on 9th May 2025 and aims to digitalize government operations over 3 years as part of the government's digital transformation policy. The project also aims to create a smarter government, faster services, transparent systems, and technology-driven administration. According to the president, the project is progressing swiftly, with Maldives 2.0 digital transformation bill already submitted to Parliament last month. He said that all state institutions will be included in the program without exemption, and noted that a key goal of the project is to reduce and eliminate corruption by creating transparent digital systems. The president said digitalization will help speed up public services and make interactions easier for both service providers and citizens in a transparent manner. He said councils will benefit from digital records, reducing reliance on physical documents and improving access to information. Expressing confidence that the program will yield results, the president highlighted the healthcare sector, noting that the digital health services are an area where citizens will see major improvements. The project will also support small businesses through financial assistance and links to global markets. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz announces that over 100 experts will be appointed to the National Advisory Council. During his Independence Day speech, President Muiz announced plans to establish a Presidential Advisory Council comprising recipients of national honors and a National Advisory Council consisting of experts and scholars to provide guidance on key national issues. He also emphasized the importance of drawing upon the experience of distinguished individuals in the national decision-making. Speaking on PSM's Nation Chat podcast, the president said there are multiple experienced individuals and former senior officials, and noted that the government's wishes to give them a formal role in advising the government on national affairs and contributing to policy discussions. The members of the National Advisory Council will comprise experts from a wide range of fields, including education and teaching, health and public health, food and agriculture, economics, social affairs, foreign affairs, and other professional sectors. The president said the council could have between 100 to 150 members. Members will provide advice on national issues, recommend reforms, and contribute their expertise at the president's request or on their own initiative. Other state institutions may also seek the council's advice. The president said procedures to establish both councils are being finalized, and they are expected to be formed within 3 months. The landmark Preferential Trade Agreement (PTA) signed between the Maldives and Turkey officially comes into effect, ushering in a new era of bilateral trade and economic cooperation between the two nations. According to the government, both countries have completed all necessary legal procedures and exchanged final notifications in writing to implement the pact. With both parties agreeing to an official implementation date, the agreement was formally brought into force on 1st August 2026. The roots of this historic agreement trace back to November 2023, when President Dr. Mohamed Muiz chose Turkey for his first official overseas state visit after assuming office. During his visit from 26th to 29th November 2023, President Muiz met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to discuss strengthening bilateral relations with a strong focus on trade and investment. These high-level discussions culminated in the official signing of the Maldives-Turkey Preferential Trade Agreement in November 2024. Under the terms of the agreement, import duties on 75 specific items will be either entirely exempted or significantly reduced. For the Maldives, a major highlight of the agreement is the facilitation of seafood exports to Turkey, opening up a massive consumer market of 85 million people for the Maldivian fishing industry. Additionally, the Maldives will benefit from preferential tariff concessions on various essential goods and basic food items imported from Turkey. The Ministry of Economic Development, Transport and Trade said that expanding import channels in this manner will help stabilize market prices and bolster the Maldives' domestic economic resilience. The ministry highlighted that the entry into force of this agreement is a monumental step toward achieving the sustainable development goals envisioned during the leaders' initial meetings. Describing the pact as a catalyst for mutual prosperity, the ministry emphasized that the agreement symbolizes a shared commitment to building robust international trade partnerships that secure essential goods, empowering exporters, and foster inclusive long-term economic growth. Minister of Economic Development, Transport and Trade, Mohammed Saeed, announces that the implementation of the Preferential Trade Agreement, PTA, signed between the Maldives and Turkey will allow Maldivian fish products to reach a consumer base of more than 85 million people. In a social media post released shortly after the PTA entered into force, Minister Saeed described the accord as a significant milestone in bilateral economic ties, crediting the shared vision of President Dr. Mohamed Muiz and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for the breakthrough. He highlighted that duties will be waived on 75 listed items, thereby lowering barriers for Maldivian fisheries and granting local businesses easier access to Turkish goods. Negotiations for the PTA began during President Muiz's official visit to Turkey in late 2023. Both governments completed the requisite legal procedures and exchanged final written notifications to bring the deal into effect from 1st August 2026. The government views the treaty as a strategic bridge to the broader European market, noting that the agreement effectively opens a 90 million consumer market for Maldivian trade. Beyond alleviating pressure from fish exports, the PTA is expected to reduce trade barriers, strengthen bilateral relations, and stimulate increased commerce between the two nations. The government anticipates that Maldivian fish exporters will expand their footprint in Turkey, while Maldivian citizens and businesses will benefit from more competitively priced Turkish products. In a coordinated effort to celebrate India's 80th Independence Day, the High Commission of India in the Maldives and the Indian Cultural Center and the Overseas Tamil Welfare Associations organizes a blood donation camp that saw 58 volunteers come forward to give life-saving blood. The event took place at Orange Kia in Hulumale, a venue chosen for its accessibility to the Indian expatriate community working across the Greater Malé. According to Overseas Tamil Welfare Association representatives, the drive aimed to encourage voluntary blood donation, raise public awareness about its importance, and foster a spirit of social service and friendship. Speaking to PSM News, an Overseas Tamil Welfare Association spokesperson highlighted the ongoing difficulties in securing diverse blood types for patients in need, adding that events like this helps revive the spirit of humanity and facilitate blood access for those who require it. The High Commission of India noted that the annual blood donation drives have become a staple of its outreach programs, with a consistently strong turnout from Indian nationals residing in the Maldives. It added, with 58 donors, the camp not only commemorated India's freedom, but also reinforced the enduring bonds of solidarity between the Indian community and the Maldivian people. According to the statistics released by the Maldives Monetary Authority, MMA, the Maldives exported 16,991 metric tons of fish during the first 6 months of the year. Fresh and chilled fish products accounted for the largest share of fish exports. The latest statistics published by MMA show that fish exports totaled 16,991 metric tons during the first half of the year, compared with 44,791 metric tons during the corresponding period last year. This represents a 62% decline. During the first 6 months of the year, the Maldives exported 13,083 metric tons of fish and chilled fish products. This represents a decline of 67% from the 40,659 metric tons exported during the same period last year. Fresh and chilled skipjack tuna accounted for the largest volume of fish exports. A total of 10,603 metric tons of skipjack tuna was exported during the first 6 months of the year, down 70% from 36,112 metric tons exported during the first half of 2025. Monthly statistics released by the MMA also show that exports of canned fish declined by 11% during the first 6 months of the year. Maldives exported 2,702 metric tons of canned fish during the period, compared with 3,056 metric tons during the same period last year. The statistics indicate that decline in fish exports was due to reduced fishing activity during the first 6 months of the year. However, the price paid for fish by Maldives Industrial Fisheries Company Limited (MIFCO) and private buyers increased during the same period. The purchasing price of skipjack tuna rose from $1.04 per kilogram at the beginning of the year to $1.30 per kilogram. The government aims to expand the fisheries sector and develop it into the country's largest revenue-generating industries. As part of this effort, work is underway to develop fisheries facilities and address challenges facing the industry within the first 3 years of the current administration. Wall Street ends higher, lifted by Amazon as the tech heavyweights' strong quarterly report bolstered investor confidence in AI-related stocks, while Apple dropped after its results disappointed investors. Amazon surged after posting its biggest quarterly revenue growth in over 4 years. Its results, along with a similar report from Microsoft on Wednesday, alleviated investor concerns about potential overspending on AI data centers.
There's really only 3 stories in the market right now. You've got the war, you've got the deficit, and you've got AI. And so every time the news on the war gets a little better, the markets react positively. Every time it gets a little worse, as it did this afternoon when the president announced that he was frustrated with Iran and maybe not, the talks were not going to go anywhere, we give some back.
Worries that heavy investments in AI infrastructure may be taking too long to pay off rattled global markets this month and led to doubts about companies at the center of Wall Street's rally in recent years. The S&P 500 gained 52.09 points, or 0.70%, to end at 7,489.72 points, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 251.68 points, or 1.002%, to 25,373.85. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 276.97 points, or 0.53%, to 52,485.03. U.S. President Donald Trump says a deal he announced to bring peace to Gaza was a great breakthrough, despite signs from both Hamas and Israel that significant hurdles remained before a deal can be implemented. For his part, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on all sides to follow the roadmap, without any questions, skepticism, or determination to undermine it.
What is your message to both parties, but specifically to Israel? We're already hearing, while Israel has not made a formal announcement yet, we're already hearing that Israel is very skeptical of this and already signaling that they will not withdraw until Hamas gives up its weapons. How do you see, what's your message to specifically both sides?
It was announced already that there is a roadmap to implement these objectives. That roadmap must be followed without any question, skepticism, or determination to undermine it. Now is the time for both sides to implement what was agreed.
On Friday, Trump's Board of Peace published the 15-point roadmap, which called on both Israel and Hamas, together with other Palestinian factions, to implement fully the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, in particular to end the military operations in Gaza. The document outlined steps to allow NCAG, National Committee of Administration of Gaza, to assume responsibility for civil governance in Gaza, and said it would oversee a process to decommission and store heavy weapons, military production sites, depots of weapons, and tunnels. It said no weapons would be handed over to Israel or non-Palestinian parties. FIFA says it will not proceed with its proposal to sell a piece of its business empire to outside investors, after the project was met with fierce resistance from some of its member associations. FIFA's plan was to raise up to $4.2 billion by selling about a 20% stake in the new unit that would run FIFA events including the World Cup, valuing it at $20 billion. The proposal, first announced on Tuesday, was strongly opposed by European soccer's governing body UEFA, which threatened to boycott and accused FIFA of putting the sport's soul up for sale. Earlier on Friday, Infantino's senior advisor, Carlo Cordero, resigned with immediate effect, calling the plan a bad deal for football. FIFA's chief operating officer, Kevin Lamore, said staff were deceived by Infantino, describing the proposal as a project of one person. British Prime Minister Andy Burnham, meanwhile, told reporters on Friday that Infantino was the wrong man to lead the organization. Yemenis flocks to eastern coastal city of Mukalla for the annual Al-Balda Festival, a month-long event bringing together cultural celebrations, heritage displays and tourism activities in Hadramaut province. The seasonal celebration coincides with an annual phenomenon, locally known as Balda Star, a period of upwelling when currents push warm surface waters away from the coast, allowing colder deep waters to rise to the surface, cooling the coastline and drawing thousands of visitors to Mukalla. The festival has grown from a local gathering into a major event attracting visitors from across Yemen and beyond, with beach activities, folk performances and markets showcasing the region's traditions. The event provides an economic boost for the governorate, said Majdi Ba Saidi, director of Hadramaut Tourism Office. At Mukalla Heritage Exhibition, visitors browsed collections of traditional household items, historic garments, woven textiles, and artifacts reflecting Hadramaut's long history. And that's all the news we have for you today. Thank you for watching PSM News.